All right, front matter's done. That was step number 3. Remember, step number 1, audience analysis. Step number 2, topic selection. Step number 3, set the objectives. Topic, objectives. Now, step number 4 is to conduct research. So what you do is you take your thesis here, or better yet, take the last part of your specific purpose, to maintain a fish tank. Type that into a search engine, maintain a fish tank, or the audience or people can maintain a fish tank. So you type that in, you're going to generate a bunch of articles. Now, all those articles should support how to maintain a fish tank. What you do now is you pick 3 to 5 articles, and when you pick those articles, write down a note of where they are. Now you read through the articles and you'll come up with 10, 15, 20 main points or different ideas about maintaining a fish tank. So as you look through those things, you pick out 3. That's all you do, just pick out 3 things, and that becomes the body of your speech. Now, if you already know the topic, and you know a lot and you don't want to do any more research, you will have to do some research for this speech, but what you could do is you could take your thesis now, instead of the specific purpose, your thesis, and already you know what might be 3 main points. What's the 3 main points to properly maintain a fish tank? Then you can write that down. But sooner or later we're going to have to do some research, as this is research speech, an informative speech. All right, so again, that's step number 4 is the research. So you take your specific purpose, maintain a fish tank, type that into a search engine. You will get lots of hits. Choose about 3 to 5 articles. Read the articles with a highlighter. Pick out main ideas or points that support maintaining a fish tank. And then go through them again and narrow it down to about 3 main points. You're going to have a list of 20 or something like that. Then you get those 3 points. Once you have those 3 points, it's time to do step number 5 of the speech writing process. So that is write the body of the speech. So we'll come up here and write the body. Now, this is different than written communication, again, because written communication, you have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Now, in our outline, we're going to have the same 3 things, an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. But what we're doing is we're writing the body first. So why do we write the body first in a speech? Because one of the things we talked about earlier is we talked about repetition for an audience. Again, we talk about people can go back and reread if they forget something or mind wanders while they're reading, but they can't go back and re-listen. So one of our strategies in public speaking is to repeat things. So there's an old maxim called, tell them what you're going to say, tell them, and tell them what you said. So think about that. You're going to tell them what you're going to say, you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you said. Introduction, tell them what you're going to say. Body, tell them. Conclusion, tell them what you said. So you cannot tell them what you're going to say unless you already know what you're going to say, which is the body of the speech. That's why we have to write the body first. So we've gotten our information from our research, or what you know to support that. And the body is made up of 3 points. 1, 2, I'm going to put the 3rd one over here. Okay, so you write in your main point. So for instance, if it says anyone can properly maintain a fish tank, maybe the first point we have to know is to how to drain the fish tank without killing the fish. So that might be our main point. So we would write drain the fish tank. All right, so once we have that there, now we've got to support the drain the fish tank. Now from those articles you read, there's plenty of support inside those articles for how to drain the fish tank. So you just pick one of them. So that would be your subpoint A, or rather than that, let's just make it easy. Let's call describe, or evidence. Okay, so we'll put a bullet point here and we'll do evidence. All right, so the evidence is the information you got from your article. Or if it's from somebody that taught you how to do it, you can do that too. So drain the fish tank. So according to Pet Magazine, the first thing you have to do is drain the fish tank properly so you don't kill the fish. All right. I'm making this up off the top of my head, by the way, so without doing the research. So that's what you put here, according to. Okay, you start out according to, you have to drain the fish tank a certain amount in order without killing the fish. So you would say, who told you how to do that, where to get that evidence for? But that supports draining the fish tank. Then what I want you to do is to describe. And when you describe, you start out with, for example. Now what you want to do is you want to put a story into it. You just don't want to give facts. There's nothing more boring than listening to a speech where somebody's just spouting off facts and steps and how to do things. So you got to put a story into it and make it a personal story about something you've experienced. So if it's drain the fish tank and evidence, according to Pet Magazine, you have to drain the fish tank to the right amount so you don't kill the fish. So then tell a story about draining the fish tank. So for example, you can say, I remember the first time I drained the fish tank. I was kind of worried about it because I had some fish I'm really attached to, and I went in there and I started to take water out a little bit at a time, and I would take it over to the sink and take water out and take water out, and pretty soon my fish only had this much water in there and their fins were flopping above it. So I freaked out and I went and got more water and I poured it back in, and that caused more things. When I poured it in, all the sand, the bottom, the rubble went up, and it just made a mess, and the fish were scared and the fish were shocked. And one of them died during this process, and I felt really bad about that. So anyway, you would describe that story in detail as you go through here. So its main point, evidence, according to Pet Magazine, and then describe. For example, when I first drained my fish tank. Okay, then you tell a story. All right, then you go all the way through. So drain the fish tank, scrub the sides of the fish tank maybe, and then refill the fish tank. All right, so those would be all things, but you'd use all three of those things. That's the body of the speech, and you write it exactly like that. Main point, evidence, describes, give an example. All right, that'll bring your speech to life. It'll make it interesting to everybody, and you'll become a good storyteller.